To the Community Roundup brought to you by Brad's Furniture and Appliances. I'm Jordan Prentice, and today I am joined by Communications Manager for the City of Fort St. John, Ryan Harvey. Thank you for joining me today, Ryan.
Thanks for having me.
And we're here on 100th Street. I don't know if you can see behind us, but it's a whole new 100th Street. It's been closed for the last few months, getting some upgrades, under construction, and it finally reopens tomorrow morning. So we're going to talk about that today. Ryan, first of all, tell me what kind of upgrades have been made along 100th Street.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big reason for these upgrades was to replace the aging underground infrastructure. And so the sewer lines and the water lines were both aging and undersized for current development. And so it was important that those get replaced before they fail. Obviously, we saw a couple years ago where we had some emergency water work done at 100th, and we want to make sure that those are impactful. As impactful as projects are to be closed for months on time. It's really the emergency stuff that's really impactful because it can't be planned for, and it is important to get those dealt with and preactively get these underground utilities replaced. And then obviously when that's happening, it's an opportunity to look at the above ground stuff and see how we can beautify our community and make things a little bit more functional.
And as I was kind of talking to you a little bit before we started the interview, it's just kind of like crosswalks and pedestrian safety. Is that taken into consideration at all?
Absolutely, yeah. So obviously, wider sidewalks, making it so that people actually have space to walk down. But also then, you can see behind us here the signalized traffic or pedestrian crossing here at 103rd Avenue. Is important. We heard throughout the engagement that this was an intersection that people wanted some protection from, and that they didn't feel safe when they were crossing the road. And so the pedestrian crossing there at 103rd, the signalized intersections at 102nd, and then the signalized intersection at 103rd are big upgrades and will ensure that not only can vehicles move safely through the area, but also so can pedestrians.
Pedestrians, okay. So was this project on schedule as far as reopening goes?
Yeah, so actually a bit ahead of schedule.
Okay.
So that's always nice. The contractor obviously has done a lot of work in the past several months, and so happy that it's opening up early and looks really good. We're excited for people to use it again and to take this frustration point away from people as they travel. We know that obviously construction season is impactful, and we have a lot of upgrades happening to roads throughout the community, and so anytime that we can reopen one is a good day, and people will be on it tomorrow morning and excited to drive on it for sure.
And just from some stories we've reported on projects within Fort St. John, because we're a small northeastern community, there's often delays on schedule because of supply chain and again the location. So it's pretty remarkable to be able to say, hey, we finished this early, right?
Yeah, one of the advantages to having this project start early is that we are able to get ahead of some of those other pieces and make sure that we have the supplies needed for the project. And it's really good to see it open.
Okay, and was this on budget?
Absolutely, yeah.
And what was the budget?
Just over $8 million. So that's funded through the Peace River Agreement, which recognizes the industrial activity outside the community. And
yes.
So that's a grant from the province.
Okay.
This year was just north of $25 million.
Okay.
So a significant influx, and obviously we utilize the majority of that, about 95% towards capital projects. And so that's a really big funding source to ensure that we're upgrading the community to meet the growing needs of it.
And were there any kind of challenges that were faced during this project?
Yeah, thankfully the same contracted company has done the last couple phases, so they're fairly well aware of what's in the ground. But of course, anytime that you're digging up a road that hasn't been dug up in several decades, you're going to find something interesting. And so the road the sidewalks used to step down into the road, and so they found the old the old steps that were still in the road right away, and had just been paved over, and so it's certainly kind of interesting to find those sorts of things, but overall nothing really major.
Like artifacts of old Fort St. John. What area, sorry, we talk about construction season and just trying to get all these projects done before the great snow. What will be focused on next season because before this season it was a little further down, right? So now we have this part. What can we expect next year?
Yeah, so next phase will go from 103rd, just north of 103rd, all the way to 105th. And then that'll complete this portion of the 100th Street corridor project.
Right.
There will be some work that will need to happen between 105th and 110th. Obviously, that underground infrastructure is aging, and so that will happen at some point. Whether it continues afterwards or we give the area a little bit of a break because we know how impactful this has been is still to be determined. But there will be some work further outside of this, but really the next phase of this project will end next year at 105th.
Okay. And finally, Ryan, is there anything that Fort St. John community members need to know ahead of the reopening?
Yeah, I mean, just as is similar with the previous phases, you've got the same road, so parking lanes against the curb, a through lane, and then a shared left turning lane. And so it's really important that people use that as they're turning left, and it's really good from a traffic movement perspective. So previously, if you had driven down 100th Street as 4 lanes, you'd always get stuck behind somebody trying to turn left at each of the intersections. And so now with the shared turn lane and the dedicated through lane, it works pretty well.
Don't forget to signal.
Don't forget to signal, always.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Ryan.
Thanks for having me.
This is Ryan Harvey, Communications Manager for the City of Fort St. John, letting us know what's going on with 100th Street, which reopens after being closed for months of construction tomorrow morning. I'm Jordan Prentice, and you have been watching the Community Roundup brought to you by Brad's Furniture and Appliances, and we will see